Hello viewers, welcome to Top Notch TV. With you today is teacher Emis Njabani, a teacher of English and literature, an examiner as well as an author. With me today is our lovely teacher Tr.Risper, Okwisa, a teacher of English and literature as well. She's also an examiner as well as an author. This session, our learners, we are going to discuss the themes or the issues that are brought out in our play, The Samaritan. And without further ado, we are going to start with our first theme, and teacher Tr.Risper is going to take us through. Welcome to the session.
Okay, thank you for joining us. And as a reminder from our previous episodes, we are able to say that whenever you're talking about a theme, remember that you use a noun or a noun phrase. The first theme I'm going to talk about is the theme of betrayal. First of all, you need to understand what is betrayal. When you're talking about betrayal, we are talking about going against some people who had their invested trust in you. For betrayal to take place, we are looking at an earlier relationship that was founded on some kind of trust. And then with reference to Samaritan, we are looking at the leaders betraying the people in a number of ways. The first point on betrayal, I'll be talking about the municipal officials betraying their electorate. The electorate had some trust in these people. They had elected them in office in order to address the problems that face the citizens. An example in place, I'll be talking about Simo and Ted that had garnered a lot of votes from the people. As a reminder, you can talk about the way Ted from the way he presented himself to the youth. Can be told from his ripped jeans, the kind of hairstyle he used to sport. He appealed to the youth and then they gave him a lot of votes. Upon going into the office, we see that these people are just out to meet their own interest. For instance, Ted eating up a whole hospital, giving tenders to people who are their relatives and the people had their trust in them. We see that one is an instance of betrayal. We are looking at another person who is betraying, and my second point will be going to someone by the name of Justice Jaden. Justice Jaden has a sworn duty to protecting the law. He's supposed to be an officer of the law. He had sworn to uphold the justice. But then when you're looking at Justice Jaden, what are we being told about him? We are being told that he is hawking justice like cabbages. It means that to him, justice will only be given to the highest bidder, the one who can pay the stipulated amount of money. Also still on Justice Jaden, it takes us to yet another point. This time, Justice Jaden is no longer betraying the law that he swore to uphold, but he's now betraying his allies. There's an instance where Mayor Mosi had invited Jaden, among other people, believing that they were all on the same side against the Samaritan. And they're looking for ways, how do we deal with the Samaritan? But at that instance, you see that Justice Jaden walks out of their meeting because he feels he's clean. The Samaritan has not yet spotted any blemish on his character. He is yet to be exposed. Therefore, why should he be having a headache for their problems? That becomes a betrayal where Justice Jaden is betraying his allies, walking out of that meeting. Another fourth point when you're talking about betrayal, we are looking at betrayal that is coming from the allies that were formerly on the side of Mosi. Just the same meeting I was talking about, they had been called because they had something in common. They had skeletons in their closet. At the same time, they were all against the Samaritan. But then what happens? Therefore, the idea that they go ahead and, through Mayor Mosi, they pass some kind of supplementary budget. Mayor Mosi not wanting to taint his image because he'll be the one who will be blamed at the end of it. They're talking about the buck stops with him. Therefore, Mayor Mosi refuses to pass that supplementary budget. And then we see that these people who are eating from the same pot, what happens? They're now turning their backs against Mayor Mosi, and even they are threatening him. They're telling him, we had a hand in putting you in office. When I was talking about betrayal, we're supposed to see some kind of earlier relationship that was pegged on trust. We see that they had some kind of trust to an extent that they put him in office. Right now, they are threatening him, telling him that if you don't pass that supplementary budget, you're going to hound you out of office. And then they turn against him and even form their new alliance. You can call it the Basdeo Alliance, that is against the Mosi Alliance. Another point, we shall be looking at someone by the name of Basdeo. Basdeo is the opposition leader, and as an opposition leader, you're supposed to put on check. You're supposed to put in check the government of the day. You're not supposed to be on the same side with them. You're supposed to be like watching out on behalf of the people. But then Basdeo, he betrays the people when he decides that he joins the other side. For example, once they realize that the Samaritan is their main enemy, he goes ahead and for the purpose of being given the position of co-mayor, we even see that he accompanies them to go and see Nicole. And every time they're talking about the issue at hand, the Samaritan, we see that his interest is majorly on the fact that he'll be given a position. He goes ahead and he wants to betray. We still go to yet another point on Mayor Mosi. Mayor Mosi looks like he's the main traitor, in fact. About Mayor Mosi, first of all, he is betraying his allies. By the time he got to know the secrets of his allies, it means that they must have had a close relationship. When he goes ahead to persuade Nicole to get rid of any wrong information about him, any negative information about him, and Nicole does not relent. When Nicole does not relent, you see that Mayor Mosi begins to throw his allies under the bus. He goes ahead and gives Nicole even other pieces of information that Nicole was not aware of. For instance, he is telling Nicole that Justice Jaden has a mistress and his wife ran away. He goes ahead and portrays Simo as a drug dealer whose wife is a drunkard and the son never stays away from rehab. Among others, for example, another example is he goes ahead and talks about Ted being a DJ and Ted's past. He brings to light Ted's past. And another one is about Ramdai. He portrays Ramdai as a con man who is giving people the same title deed for the same piece of land. In other words, he swindles people of their had earned money in order to give them some fake title deeds. We are still on betrayal, and it will be taking me to my last point on betrayal. The last point on betrayal, I'll be talking about the police. When you're looking at the police are supposed to be giving a service to all. But then instead of giving the service to all people equally, we look at the police, they are being used as an instrument to oppress. For example, we are looking at Inspector Bembe, the IG, the Inspector General of Police, Inspector Bembe. He is using that position to betray the same citizens he is supposed to protect. And he goes ahead and he is intimidating Nicole. At the same time, he even ensures that he takes her to spend some time in the cells. That is it about betrayal. I'll be now welcoming my colleague to also take us through yet another theme. Could you welcome Madam Emis as she's doing corruption?
Thank you, Tr.Risper, for that discussion on betrayal. Corruption can be defined as dishonest way of doing things by those in power in order to acquire illicit benefits. So if someone does something in a dishonest way, so that they benefit themselves, then we can say that that person is corrupt. And corruption is mostly brought out by our leaders. So for this theme, I am going to break down the theme of corruption into 3 subheadings. All those fall under the umbrella of corruption. So the first one is bribery. We are going to see how people are paying money for them to obtain favors. The second one is nepotism. Favoring your own people or your relatives or your friends. And then the third one is flawed judicial system. So I am going to break corruption into 3 parts. So we start with bribery. What are the incidents of bribery do we see in this book, The Samaritan? I'll give you the page numbers so that later on you can go check for more details. So on page 22, we see Justice Jaden suggests that they should give reporters and editors boxes of chocolate. Of course, they don't mean like real chocolates. When they talk of boxes of chocolate, they mean that they should get money, go and bribe the media so that they can stop posting or publishing information about them or negative information about them. Remember, at this during this period, the Samaritan app was already in action. So there was a lot of information, negative information posted about the leaders. So the media houses would just pick that information from the Samaritan and then they would publish it. So on that meeting when Mayor Mosi ordered Mr. Avesta to buy all the newspapers, Justice Jaden suggests that they should pay the news reporters as well as the publishers so that they can stop publishing negative information about them. The second point we have on page 24, that is brought out by Honorable Seymour. So Honorable Seymour says that they should obtain money so that they can pay off the people who are publishing information about them in the Samaritan. He actually says that they need to identify those people who are actively posting information about them in the Samaritan, and then they can pay them off. He further continues on page 31 up to 33 to say that they should mobilize enough money from their own pockets so that they can pay them off. And when other honorables say that they don't have money because they have already invested their own money, he suggests that they should reallocate the budget, say that there is a lot of garbage and the sewer system is broken in the municipality, then get money and use part of that money to pay off the people who are actively posting negative information about them. So another person who shows corruption is actually Mosi, that is on page 61. So he attempts to bribe Nicole. So when he goes to visit Nicole the second time, when Tr.Risper is talking about betrayal, when he was telling Nicole all about all other honorables, whatever they have done. So at some point, he offers Nicole a bribe. He tells Nicole to mention her figure. How much do you want me to give you? Just mention your figure. How much do you want? So that you can filter negative information about me from the Samaritan. So Mosi wants Nicole because he believes that Nicole is the one who is in charge of the Samaritan and in charge of whatever is being posted in the Samaritan. She wants Nicole to read everything that is being posted, filter it, and only post what is good about him, and anything that actually puts like some mud or that on his name, then Nicole should delete it before it goes to the public. So that's another incident of corruption. Then we have Nicole on page 53. She's talking to the students, Alvita and Montano, when they go to talk about how they're afraid that the Samaritan app might land Nicole into trouble. Nicole tells them that actually the Samaritan is for their good. She even asks them, how do you think these leaders afford the luxurious lifestyle that they live? We all know how much we pay them as the municipality, but look at the houses they live in. Look at the cars that they drive. Look at their lifestyle. Clearly it shows that they are living above their salaries. So Nicole was trying to say that these leaders are embezzling public funds. These leaders are involved in corruption, and it's only through Samaritan that they'll be able to expose the rot in the municipality. But the next point on bribery is on page 66. So Moses says that Seymour is in charge of the Municipal Department of Planning and Development, but it does not approve building plans until someone greases his palms or palm parts with some dollars. So it portrays Seymour as a corrupt leader. So he is supposed to approve, check the building plans, see that they follow the standard measures, and then approve them. But he does not even check them. The only way he approves building plans in the municipality is if someone parts with some dollars. So it shows that he takes bribes so that he can do his own work. Then we have also page 78. Ted says that some councillors and aldermen refused to join them in the support of vote of no confidence motion on Morsi until money changes hands. So Ted had been tasked to go and find out how many of these councillors, how many of these leaders are going to support the Ramdaya team in the vote of no confidence against Mayor Morsi. So when he was giving the categories of these people, he says there are some that are only looking at how they are going to benefit from the situation. And how are they going to benefit from the situation? They want to be bribed so that they can support Ramdaya's team in ousting Morsi out of office. So they don't even care if he's a good leader or not. The only thing they need is to get money from this situation. Yet they are the leaders that people are relying on to guide them. Then on page 108, our last point on bribery, when Basdeo and Ramdaya get to know about London Gate affair. The London Gate affair is that scandal about rodents by what was the Prime Orchard Limited. Prime Orchard Limited. So they got to know what Prime Orchard Limited was doing, that they were rearing their own rodents, then release them to the farm, and then now using a contract given to them by the municipality to clear the rodents, because they wanted to actually lower down the local production so that they can pave way for their own, which they're going to import into the country. So Ramdaye and Basdeo get to know about it, and they threaten to expose the whole scandal. But what does Ivy do? Ivy is one of the mistresses of Justice Jaden. She goes and gives them money to keep quiet. She also gives them some shares into the Prime Orchard Limited company so that he can shut their mouth, so that they don't expose what the company is doing. So that's another point on bribery. So remember, we said we are breaking corruption into 3 parts. The second one is nepotism. How are people favoring their own for their own benefit? Page 62, Moses says that Ramdaye is in charge of the Department of Physical Infrastructure, and he uses his position to award tenders to his companies and those of his relatives. That is also discussed on page 69. So instead of going through the normal procedures of awarding tenders, what does he do? He uses his position to give those tenders to his friends and his relatives. Another point is on page 64. Tend is also said to give tenders when he was given the money or the funding to build a hospital in the municipality. Moses says that he hates the entire hospital. So Teacher Nico asks him, how does he eat the entire hospital? So when he explains, Mayor Moses says that Honorable Ted gave tenders to members of his family as well as his friends. And then together, now they embezzled the money that was meant to build the hospital. So that is nepotism. Instead of giving companies that actually qualified for these tenders, he gave his friends and his relatives so that he can use those companies to embezzle the money that was meant for that project. Page 69, Justice Jaden has also so many, according to Mayor Morsi, he has so many mistresses and relatives doing business in the municipal council. And we can use an example of Ivy. So Morsi explains that Ivy approached him and wanted to be given a tender to eliminate the pests and the rodents that were becoming a nuisance in the municipality. When Morsi says that there was no such a thing, she comes later to actually prove that it was a problem that was existing. And through Jaden, Moses says that he had to give the contract to Ivy because Jaden was actually his close friend or ally. So what does that tell you? That Justice Jaden uses his power to favor people close to him, his mistresses. Again, on page 106, that is another point I was talking about. Mosin decides to give Ivy a contract to kill London's just because she's Jaden's mistress. Now, the other one is flawed judicial system, still under the umbrella of corruption. So how corrupt is the judicial system in this Maracas municipality? So on page 7, during the skit or the play within the play, Montano says that law enforcers and judges could only serve those who greased their palms. Montano was trying to explain to Alvita and Teacher Nicole why the crime rates in the Maracas municipality has gone up. And he says that the law enforcers were corrupt. You only had to grease their palms for them to serve you justice. That is page 7. Then page 69, Moses says that Jaden hawks justice like cabbage. What does that tell you? That he receives money for him to serve justice. Yes, or to do someone a favor in court. Page 107 also, Ivy's contract was rejected by the municipal council. The contract she was given by Mayor Mosi was rejected by the municipal council, and they say that they cannot just, people had to go through the process of bidding. But Justice Jaden advises Ivy to go to court. When she goes to court, the case lands on Justice Jaden's desk. And how does he rule? Remember, Ivy is his mistress. He says that it was a matter of urgency, so they cannot wait for the bidding process to take place. So this company should be given the tender. Let alone when it was discovered actually that the Prime Orchard Limited company was leasing the rodents, and the case still landed on Justice Jaden's desk. What does he say? He said that it was a natural occurrence and there is no way that they can peg it all or pin it on a certain company, because he compared it to the invasion of the locust that is in the Bible. So my last point on flawed judicial system is brought out by Justice Jaden when he favors Ivy in court. Remember, 2 cases involving Ivy, his mistress, landed on his desk. One is when the municipal leaders objected the contract given to Ivy by Mosi and say that it should go through the normal process of bidding, where they give the tender to the company that actually qualifies to get the tender. But Jaden loses the case in favor of Ivy, his mistress, and says that it was a matter of urgency and the rodents cannot wait until the bidding process completes. Still on page 108, later on, the Prime Orchard Limited is also sued because it came to light that they were the people that were actually releasing the rodents into the grain farms. So when the case also landed on Justice Jaden's desk, he compared it to the invasion of the locust in the Bible, and he says that it was actually a natural occurrence and there is no way it can be pinned on a certain company. So he also loses the case again in favor of his mistress, Ivy. So clearly we can see that the judicial system in this municipality was flawed or was full of corruption. So those are the 3 subsections of corruption that we have, our learners. And we move on to our third theme. And I'll ask Tr.Risper to take us through that theme.
Okay. As we continue with our themes, I'll be discussing the third theme that I'll be calling hypocrisy, and I will stroke it with falsehood. There is a way that falsehood intertwines with hypocrisy, therefore I'm discussing them together. My first point on hypocrisy, I'll be talking about Mayor Mosi and the way Mayor Mosi portrays himself as someone positive while he portrays the others as being very negative. A case in court, we shall be talking about Mayor Mosi comparing his activities to eating merely 1 slice of bread while the other people are eating a whole loaf as well as the wrappings. Still on Mayor Mosi portraying himself as better than others, that he's not bad while the other people are bad, we are going to talk about the way he accuses Simo as being one who is involved with outlawed gangs. He talks about Simo being involved with a gang of the Black Swan. But Mosi, we know as well that he is involved with the Red. He wanted to ensure that they get arrested first. And to ensure this, he was using an outlawed gang of the Red Eagle. the same kind of thing he has accused another one of doing with the black swan. That was the first point. Still on hypocrisy, we're talking about pretense. We're talking about portraying things using falsehood. Number 2 will become, Mosi pretends that, why is he reluctant to bless the launching of the Samaritan? According to what he tells the people, according to what he wants people to see, is that the Samaritan will be used as an avenue for misinformation, lies, as well as witch hunting. That is the kind of story he gives outwardly. But in reality, to portray on the lie, is that he is afraid because of the things he has been doing that they will be brought to light. That becomes the true reason, but he hides behind the guise of that he's protecting the people from misinformation, lies, as well as witch hunting. The third point on hypocrisy, I'll be talking about Inspector Bembe, and we say that hypocrisy and falsehood, there's a way that they are related. Inspector Bembe, once he wants to get rid of Nicole, he uses something where we can describe as falsehood. He goes ahead and he is accusing Nicole of stealing the school generator. And even when he wants to ensure Nicole is prosecuted for that crime, in reality, he has sent someone to acquire that generator. In other words, he was supposed to be the one behind the disappearance of that generator, and then later on falsely accuse Nicole for it, and in a way he'll be dealing with his own enemy. Another point on hypocrisy, I'll be looking at Justice Jaden's mistress by the name of Ivy. Ivy wanted to acquire a tender from the municipality. Now, how does she go and acquire the tender? At first, she thought it would have been a walk in the park. She knew that she had the support of Justice Jaden, therefore she'll just simply go to Mayor Mosi, an ally of Justice Jaden, and then she'll be given that tender. But then, what are the details of that tender? She says that there are rodents that are wreaking havoc in the municipality. They're destroying the grains. But you know that is falsehood, in that there was no such thing. Later on, what does she do? She goes ahead and rears the same rodents and unleashes them into the population, therefore making her story to now make sense. Therefore, later on, she is given that tender, and even the way she has been given the tender was pegged on something that was non-existence, therefore it was pegged on falsehood, and therefore a point on hypocrisy. We move ahead to yet another point on hypocrisy. Another point on hypocrisy that I'll be pegging at number 5, I'll be talking about Simo. Simo, as we have interacted with him, we've seen him as someone who is intimidating. He intimidates others in that he always tells them that using his low degree, he's going to put them in their place. But you're learning that the mentioning of him having a low degree is falsehood. He is being hypocritical. He is pretending. He has never stepped a day into a law school. He simply went to the back street and bought himself the qualifications. Therefore, we see hypocrisy that Simo does not own any law degree. In fact, we can call him something like a conman of a lawyer. He is not a real lawyer. And then to another point, at point number 6, we shall be looking at hypocrisy, and this hypocrisy shall be looking at the municipal officials as being hypocritical. And when you're looking at these municipal officials as being hypocritical, we look at the incident where they go to visit Nicole. And when they go to visit Nicole, it's after they've tried all the avenues of bringing down the Samaritan, and finally they decide the only way we can just go ahead and try to sway Nicole to be on our side. But when they go over there, they try and pretend that they have seen the way the Samaritan is of the greater good. Therefore, they owe Nicole an apology. They even go ahead and say it was nothing personal, but in all, their agenda was to compromise Nicole. Therefore, no one will be holding them accountable. That is it that made them to go over there. And then you still see the last point on hypocrisy. The last hypocrisy will be pegged on Justice Jaden. Justice Jaden, he engages in a number of things that make us to judge him as being hypocritical. At first, remember when he walked out of the meeting, it is like he was blemish-free. There's nothing about him that was dirty. But later on, we are learning that he was involved in the grain scandal. And also about Justice Jaden, first of all, you've known that he was involved in the grain scandal, and therefore him proclaiming that he is not someone who is corrupted, we see that he is portraying himself in false light. Still on Jaden, the way he rules in favor of Ivy, he just wanted to make sure that the agenda has been realized. But the excuse he gives is that it is a matter of urgency. You have to rule this one fast because it is a matter of urgency. But then you know that there was something in it for him. Therefore, he had to rule in favor of that side and ensure Ivy had her way in all this. That brings to an end my discussion on hypocrisy. I'll be giving the cue back to my colleague to wind up.
Okay, thank you, learners, for viewing, and I hope you've learned from our session today. Stay tuned in for other sessions on other themes in the same play. Until next time, it's bye-bye.